Tyler, the Creator, is calling hip-hop fans disingenuous. And I agree, but I also disagree. You ever been scrolling through Twitter or you're scrolling through whatever media that you use and you see a very consistent consensus about a few particular artists when it comes to hip-hop? They have to be in this order, and they have to be these albums, they have to be these songs, and we all have to unanimously agree on why these artists are the greatest of the great. Gotta have the same top 3, gotta have the same top 5 albums, gotta talk about the same one-liners. For a genre of music that has been historically over-policed, there is a lot of over-policing going on when it comes to whether or not you can genuinely feel the feelings that you have for the records that you're talking about. And while I completely empathize with Tyler, the Creator's points about taking the opinions of a kid on hip-hop Twitter talking about how his top 5 rappers are all from the 80s with a grain of salt, I also don't think it's healthy to be so overly cynical about each person that may share the same opinion who also might fall into the same age range. But here's what Tyler, the Creator, had to say about hip-hop fans.
I tried to debate Tyler last night into the whole the big best rapper in the game, the big 3. They talking about the Drake, Kendrick, Coles. He wouldn't go for it. He says,
bro,
the only thing.
Who gives a fuck? Hey, and you know what annoys me when people are like, this is my top 5, and people argue it. Like, you got 17-year-olds like, yeah, like, dude, fucking Ready to Die and Enter the Wu-Tang is my top 10 album ever. I'm like, bro, you just got hair on your dick. Stop. It's performative. It's like, that's your, and again, some people might be right, but I'm like, that's you got young boys and babies out here, and that's your favorite. Like, I don't care about people's objective top nothing. Tell me what is your favorite shit, because you learn so much from people. You get context. I want to know why you think Pookie Dookie's second album is your favorite. Oh, I have memories attached to it. My brother did this when I was young, this and that, did that. In track 7, he talks about this. Found out I was going through it. Like, I want to hear that. I don't care about no objective. Dude, the kids be doing it with me. They do a tier list of like A, B, C, and D of the albums they like of me, and then ask people thoughts. You're asking people their thoughts on what you hold to your heart. What kind of stupid shit is that? That's why I fucking hate rap Twitter, because everything's performative. Everyone is making these lists just to have people engage. Like, who gives a fuck who the top 3 is? Jamiroquai is like my favorite band. I don't know no one that talks about them, and I don't give a fuck, because I enjoy it in my house and in my car. So why the fuck are we sitting here arguing about, oh, you don't got Tupac in your top 5? Nigga, no. I was fucking born when that nigga was at his peak. Like, who gives a fuck? Tell me your personal top 5, because y'all gonna just go in circles.
A good deal of what Tyler is talking about is valuing your era. I think there's far too much music coming from our generation right now to be so infatuated in basically dick riding the previous generation's music that you miss out on what artists your own age, a few years older or a few years younger, are doing to help push the genre forward or bend it entirely to make it something new. There's too much going on right now for you to only see the value in music that was created 20 years before you were fucking born. So it seems entirely unrealistic that you'd be having musical discourse not referencing anything from your own era just to highlight music that wasn't even made for the era that you're around for. I think there's another conversation that could be had about whether or not people value hip-hop for the right reasons, meaning that there are a subsection of hip-hop fans that are living and dying by the opinions of a Fantano or a Pitchfork or what Tyler's talking about, a rap Twitter, where they'll refuse to allow themselves to see the value in a record based off of whether or not it's ranked higher or lower than another. They'll like prevent themselves from enjoying other records that aren't ranked as highly, and it all leads to this lack of individuality, this lack of interpersonal connections to art. And that's like one of the best parts of it. You being able to identify yourself in some of the things that you're consuming. That is one of the main reasons why I like music in the first place. Memories that I might hold near and dear to me that might be reflected in the songs that I'm listening to. Maybe an idea or a feeling that resonates with me. Maybe certain instruments remind me of a time in my life, or they just give me good emotions. Very rarely, or at least now, when it comes to the state of hip-hop discourse, I'm finding it increasingly difficult to be exposed to other artists because of this severe lack of individuality, because the standard for what makes great hip hop records or great artists or great songs are as rigid as they are and don't really contain much outside of this very forced criteria. For a genre of music that's been as rebellious as hip hop has, its fan base a lot more often than not fall in line in ways that are a lot more self-serving than they let on. The other side of this conversation that I don't feel like is being highlighted, though, while Tyler the Creator is being praised for his commentary about this, is that I just think it's an incredibly cynical thing to think and feel because you've seen a certain album or a certain list pop up on your feed a couple more times than you'd like to have, and now you're kind of under the assumption that because it pops up again that this person can't like it for legitimate reasons. So while I agree with Tyler on one aspect of this conversation, there's another part of the convo that I can't really co-sign, because I feel like the other part of the conversation or argument just stems from extreme cynicism. I think it's kind of ridiculous to look at someone listing off some of their favorite artists or some of their favorite songs or albums and think, you know what, you only like these records because they're critically acclaimed, or because this guy gave it this score, or because these people gave it this rating. And while I do think a lot of the culture surrounding ratings and reviewers can be problematic, I think looking at everything with this immediate question mark as opposed to just accepting what someone likes and why they like it leads to just the strangest sense of distrust, or even this inflated sense of your own importance. I feel the same way about people who call people fake deep, because it's an assumption that this person is trying to be a certain way to appeal to you in a different light, and that might not be true, and you don't have anything to substantiate that outside of your own biases. I don't like to engage in hip-hop discourse anymore, not because I don't believe what people are saying about what they like, it's just because I don't find it fun, because the same arguments end up getting used over and over again. And at least right now, for the standard of what hip-hop has been for the last maybe year or two, I think a lot of different artists are showing why there's so much beauty and diversity right now. I like Baby Smooth for a totally different reason than I might like Babyface Ray, for a totally different reason why I might like CEO Trail, for a totally different reason than I might like Saw Baby or Kendrick or Lucky. I think there's too much going on for me to have a definitive top anything, because I'm getting entertainment pretty much from everywhere. So having that conversation is just kind of pointless to me, because I don't feel like there's a best. But I'm not going to see some kid with a topster on my timeline and look at him like there's no way you could like this, simply because he's young and these are records that are universally accepted. Especially when the conversation that he's trying to have isn't even like an argumentative one. He's just asking people what they think about some of the music that he's talking about or wants to discuss. He's inviting opinions, he's inviting discourse, he's inviting debate. I wouldn't call him a loser for that. People debate art all the time. They do it with literal art, they do it with video games, they do it with film, they do it with music. I mean, that's never going to change. The aspect of what Tyler the Creator is discussing, I do understand, because there are going to be a group of people out there who attack those who don't share the same musical opinions as them. Obviously, he's dismissing that crowd of people who would say something like that, list their quote-unquote favorite music for approval because they want that internet validation, those W's, those base take, man, or good take. Oh, these are great music recommendations. He's tired of the echo chamber. I get it. Overall, though, I do think Tyler has a point about wanting people to shift the conversation. I don't want to talk about an objective anything anymore. I don't want to talk about who the best is at this. I don't think there's a best. I don't think there's a number one. I don't think there's a number two. There's no numerical order. I want there to be more individuality when it comes to hip hop discourse, so we can all take and learn from one another. That's why I would do the playlist videos, because I thought it was a good opportunity for everybody to kind of discuss the music that they are listening to. So you could put me on, and maybe you see something in the video and you get put on, which I promise is coming. I promise. I know I'm months and months behind on that. I know I'm late, but I promise you I'm coming. Who wants to have a greatest of all time conversation if there is a unanimous greatest of all time? Why will we keep regurgitating and rehashing that convo? Why do we keep talking about the same top five? There are such things as musical drones, and that is what Tyler the Creator is basically talking about in this clip. And I agree with him. They're clogging up genuine, good hip-hop discourse, and I'm trying to still get put on. I want to engage in those mediums and get put on just like everybody else. But the culture surrounding those conversations are so self-serving, it makes you want to be as far away as humanly possible. Y'all let me know if you agree or disagree with him in the comment section down below. Tell me why. And yeah, I'll be back real soon, sooner than you think.